but I think it's really good to bring up now is this whole thing about questions and curiosity and stuff, super valuable. And also, and I think, as you say, not necessarily needing to know the answers straight away. Now, there can, and so just trying to think where to start with this, because it's something that I think about a lot and I kind of use a lot. But basically, there can kind of be a trap in a sense. I don't know if a trap's the right word, but if if a kid, say, sees a particular bird and says, "What's that bird?" and I say, "It's a robin." If I do that, that can kind of, sometimes it can be useful, but sometimes it can kind of like cut the curiosity dead. Then this is stuff I think you'll be really familiar with. So it's just like, that's kind of stops it in its tracks. It doesn't mean to say we never kind of tell them the name or something. That's not on the same. But sometimes we can actually kind of pull it out as a longer term exploration. And so what we could do, and again, there's no kind of fixed formula for it, but and that's where having things like this, like the FSC guide, and I think it's maybe because I'm kind of like quite old school, so I prefer looking stuff in guides and stuff online, and also when I'm with kids and stuff in the woods. I guess it's like a personal thing where I think we use screens so much. There's obviously a place for them, and I think it can be a problem as well, without a doubt, for adults and for kids with so much screen time that it can become a problem. And I think part of like getting out in nature helps to kind of balance that out, and then also seeing that there's other options for discovering stuff. Obviously, like Googling stuff is actually really valuable, without a doubt, and there's other options too. So even just something like this, it's kind of away from the screen for a bit and stuff like that does, and we lay this out and say like we see a robin, and kids are like, what's that? It's like, oh, let's see if we can find it on here, and you may know what it is. Well, you will know what it is, whether it's a robin, but there's some stuff where like we're maybe a bit unsure, and I come across that sometimes with things where I'm just like, actually a particular plant or whatever, I'm like, actually let's just look it up and try and find out together. And then you're actually kind of along this kind of journey of curiosity with them. But this whole thing here, then they're looking at all of these birds all flipping through a guide. And as we saw with this exercise here, even though we're focusing on some particular ones, just unconsciously, and I found this like as a kid a lot, like looking through field guides and stuff, I didn't even know that I was learning a ton of different birds and stuff. So years later I'd see a bird, I think, oh, that's a such and such. I didn't even remember learning it, but it's because I'd just been flicking through these books or whatever it was. But with the example of the robin, so you could just say, oh, look at this, and the kids looking all over here, they find it, oh wow, look, is that it there, or is that it there? We've both got red chests, this one here, that one there, and then we could say, and maybe they're not sure which one of the two, and then we could say, oh, is its head black? And then maybe, so just imagine this scenario, the robin's not there anymore. Like, oh, I can't remember if it had a black head or not. That is priceless. That moment there of saying, does this bird have a black head? Because then we're going to, let's see if we can see that bird with that orange in the chest again. And next, no, it's got a brown head. It's got a brown head. Let's look and see which one's got a brown head. They find the robin. That whole process there, which could be over the course of 3 weeks, like if it's weekly sessions or however often you're doing your session, 3 days or whatever it might be. There's so much value in that beyond either telling what your answer is. And in certain situations, Googling it would be valuable, and there's so much benefit to doing that. But then, even when we got to that point, oh wow, it's a robin. It doesn't end there. There's so many other questions that we could ask about it. So, and actually between us now, well, let's think just with that example. Say we found out that it was a robin. What other questions might we ask about it?
Really?
Sorry?
When did you see a robin?
When?
You see them in the summer, so you see them in the summer.
Yeah. So say we're seeing them in say it happens to be now that we see this robin. Are they here? Or when they're around, are we going to see it when it's really hot in the summer or whatever? And again, that straight away, it's dropping this question in. And these kind of questions, they create a vacuum. And this is at the heart of science in a sense, this kind of curiosity. We're like, oh, I want to find out now. Whereas if we say, oh yeah, this is a robin, it's like they lay this many eggs, and some of them migrate, some of them stay here, and they leave this and this. Most of that stuff, if someone says that to me, some of it just bounces off, but as soon as we're involved in that process, wow, are they around or around? Let's find out for ourselves. So that's really a big part of the science aspect, it's like actually developing that curiosity. and then exploration. Any other questions? So there's the when. Yeah, what does it eat? Brilliant. And that's something we can, you know, again, we can look it up, and we can do direct observations as well. We can be like, okay, let's have a look. What is that robin doing? And we can see maybe it's on the floor, like the woodland floor or whatever, just like pecking away. And then it flies off, and then we go over. So let's see if we can find anything that the robin might eat. And we look in, and maybe we see a bug, or maybe we see a seed or whatever. Not sure. And then maybe we look it up and find out, you know, like, what do they eat? You know, so many different ways. Any other thoughts?
Are they rare or are they quite common?
Yeah. So how often now are they around? So
Like, are there lots of them? Kind of?
yes, yeah.
Noises? Does any keep accounting like spotting as well and do that?
Noises that they make.
Yeah. So what kind of noises
Do
they
they
make?
lay eggs?
Sorry.
Do they lay eggs?
Do they lay eggs? Yeah. That's
How long do they take?
yeah.
How big are their
We
brothers
had a
and
really
sisters?
good. We did
How big are their eggs?
we put up a bird box and got a bird nested in it, but every week we went back up to the woods. There was always something different. So we've seen the nest being made, then we've seen the eggs had been laid, then we've seen her sitting in it, then we've seen the chicks, right up until we went back and they're gone. So every week we've seen it right through.
What was the bird? What was the?
Coonita.
Comes that?
Do not get your
Show you
book out.
pictures, but apart from that, but it was the only, because we didn't have a camera or anything in it, the only thing that we did do was we did tap the works phone and we put it in and pressed the button to see if there was, so we showed the kids later that this is what was inside it, but they loved even just watching it going in and out. Kind of, and the two of them was together, you could see one going in, one coming out and things, but they could sit there for ages, some of them watching it, they loved it.
Those kind of like memories and stuff that ought to be developed from that, even, and that to me is there's a priority for that over knowing what the bird's name is, which again will probably come at some point, or maybe a kid when they're 12 or something, they'll see in a book a picture of a blue tit, and they'll be like, oh, that was the bird that we saw then. I remember that bird. I remember it had these like really amazing coloured eggs, and its nest was made of moss and whatever it is. So yeah.
We had that in my garden. My son had made a bird box at Scouts, and we put it in the garden, and we saw the blue tit having its babies, and then the day that they actually flew, we were so lucky, and we seen them, the babies learning to fly, and they all kind of gathered on the fence, just sort of near the bird box. But the kids were so good, like they were so quiet near them that the blue tits were really timid, so we were able to go like really close to them. It was just such a lovely day, like it was really, really good.
But it was even where we even put 3 birdhouses up. And I'm like, there's no way it's going to go in there. It's far too close to the ground. It needs to go up there. No, it's the lowest one that got. But again, it started a curiosity. And why would it need to go in there, or why would you put it up there? Or,
But a sparrowhawk, not nesting, caught something into the playground and devoured it. And we're like, oh, how would you explain this bird ripping a bird to shreds? But it was at pick-up time, so it was just as the kids were getting picked up, and one of the little boys, everything was farm, and he was like, that's just cool. That was just the best thing he'd seen. It's getting so not quite as nice as little chicks, but you know, just to see his reaction of
So all of that, and that's part of nature. Obviously, that's the reality of it. Is that stuff eats stuff. It's part of it.
it's just a fuel cycle, isn't it?
And it can be quite an intense experience. And there may be some you don't know how to manage it. If some kids are kind of upset by that, whatever. But just seeing, okay, that's. And I have a real thing about this because I love sparrowhawks. I'm kind of a bird of prey nerd as well. And you may see sparrowhawks around today. They are in the area. But people often say, oh, sparrowhawks come and eat all my birds in my garden. And no one says, oh, these blue tips eating all the poor little caterpillars. Like, no one cares about the caterpillars. What's that all about? So, everybody's got it.
We've got one of the dads, he's a part of the Grampian Moorland group, so they're promoting game. So he asked us if we wanted some game for the kids to try. So I suggested, well, why don't you come and show them the process of a pheasant? So you obviously, it's a bit gruesome, but you know, plucking it, gutting it, taking the head off, you know, and getting them involved in the whole thing. So we've asked the parents, they're quite happy. We've got a small group. I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea.
I'd love to see that happen.
Yeah, so we're going to have pheasant.
Real value in that again, because you said the parents were kind of fine with it, or if they're consulting, because I think generally, again, there's this really familiar thing now where how disconnected we are is that kids are really like, it's quite common that kids don't know milk comes from a cow
Yeah.
or meat. And I think if people do eat meat, you know, I think it's really important just to have that honesty of knowing what the process is to actually get that meat. Just know, you know, this was a live animal. And I think even that generates a sense of respect and a sense of connection. Where if I'm eating this chicken, knowing that this was a bird, this is what happens to it, and this is what it, and also like the biology aspect of like, wow, this is, you know, like looking what's inside.
It's not so long ago that was a way of life.
Yeah.
My grandparents.
I remember them hanging in the garage.
But
I remember
they're
the
giving away
childhood
pheasants now. They keep the gamekeepers can't get. They're paying the butchers to take them away
Yeah,
because nobody wants them, and it's such a waste of meat
Yeah.
because nobody knows about it. That's why they're trying to promote you know, game, because nobody eats it now. It's all just chicken or mince and
Well, loads of different examples like that of just like connect that process of like understanding where our food comes from, whether it's game or it could be like milk or anyone involved, like someone who you mentioned like growing projects, stuff like that. All of that's super valuable. And then again, the science side of it, of seeing all of the different processes that are involved in getting our food to our table. Yeah.
we've done a lot on that actually. We grew tatties last year. And we renovated the ground and planted a whole drill of tatties, and then we did a lot of things with the tatties. We dug them all up, and it was brilliant. It was really, really good.
Fantastic.
We
Yeah.
did weighing and things as well. How many tatties were in each show, and
Yeah.
we got
that's
so
great,
much
yeah.
out of it.
That's a ton
it's
of
worth-
maths options.
yeah,
there
it's
and
worth
so on.
doing.
So, yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
We came a cycle up here and the piglets were out in the pig farm along here.
Oh yeah.
And the farmer actually took the piglets over for the kids to see.
Oh okay. Yeah.
But like, that then got talking about the process of, and I was like, well actually they're going to grow up to like be something that you might eat. And when they seen these little piglets, they were like, they couldn't believe that, to think that they were actually eating them, do you know? So when they
Right,
see a pig, they hadn't really thought about it because it
yeah.
was this big pig. But then when they seen the piglet, they were like, oh, but they're so cute, you know? Like it was a totally different concept of it.
One of my cat had kittens. So my cat had kittens, and she was back with my daughter, must have been 7 or 8 at the time, and she's seen these kittens because she was like a cat midwife. And she was chuffed a bit, and my son, who's 5 years older than her, he was like a typical man, probably just pumpkin every time he heard the cat. It was like, oh, that's disgusting. But she was like delighted. She was like, I delivered this kitten myself. She was just like amazed. But the learning for her is still there. I mean, she can still describe them, and
It's kind of experience. And like you say, that it wasn't that long ago when that was, as you say, where like I know like tons of parts of the world where it still is, where really like these processes are really familiar to people. But basically any opportunities where we can kind of like, safely in some ways give kids these experiences can be really valuable.
To go back to your piglets, in my daughter's class, there's a couple of farmers. So, well, obviously the children are from farms. So quite often they get the kids coming down and talking about what they do on their farms. But when we've gone up a few times and they've shown us for the pigs and they've shown us, you know, the chickens, because they do chickens as well. So they talk about, you know, there is questions of where do they come from, you know, what happens to them, and you know, they're quite graphic in telling them where they go and what happens to them, and you know, so it's pretty much again making sure they know where they come from. And when Dakota, my little girl, was about 3, we do like walks around the back roads and we say, look, there's a bacon sandwich there. So she has got no plans of where her food's coming from.
Grow up with
She
it.
knows where her food's coming from. I mean, she'll quite happily eat any game.
Well, the funny thing is, I was brought up on a farm. My husband's a gamekeeper, but I don't eat meat.
Yeah.
But it's not that I'm against it.
Yeah.
It's just I just don't like the taste and the texture.
Right.
I'll eat a little bit of mince. That's about it.
But I was brought up as well with it hanging in the shed, and I can cut and
Yeah, I can do all
whatever,
that.
do it all.
Just don't.
And we're actually, my daughter, she's actually asked to do it. That's so we're waiting for her to get over there.
Last night I did week talk and session last night, and my daughter was rested it.
Yeah, my daughter's waiting to do that with my grandpa.
Just checking, Laura, you're saying like, it's about 12 to 1. 12 to 1, yeah. Okay, so we've got a bit of time, like quarter.